I'm not sure. But if you go to the three dots in my video square, the top right, and press that, you'll see a drop-down menu, and you should be able to make me a co-host from that. I think I might be the host.
I'm streaming, so you can go ahead and do your thing. I don't have any picture though.
I'm going to shift to you.
Go ahead and do your thing, and I'll take care of this on that as far as getting it to you.
You sure?
Yeah.
Because I can do it right now.
So, I got it.
Okay. We are doing a number of different things tonight. We are bringing Julian Cohen into our sanctuary, and our sanctuary is also going out into the internet, into the world. And we have audio, and we have video, and we have a new way of connecting people to people. And we're pleased that Julian is joining us this evening from that locus of exceptional Jewish identity and creativity, Jackson, Mississippi. Who would have thunk years ago that a resource such as Institute of Southern Jewish Life would emerge from Jackson, Mississippi? And over the past 20 years, we've been privileged to enjoy and participate in a plethora of programming from the Institute of Southern Jewish Life, as it has reached out and continues to reach out to now 70 communities across, is it 12 or 13 states, Julian?
13.
13 states. So we're pleased. And now we'll begin with the Shalom Aleichem. And if you're joining in online, we're on page number 5 in the Leiv Shalem Sidur. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShoret, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, malachei ha-shalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlochim, hakadosh baruch hu. Barchoni l'shalom, malachei ha-shalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlochim, hakadosh baruch hu. Seitchem l'shalom, malachei ha-shalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlochim, hakadosh baruch hu. Turning now to Lechun Ranana on page number 11. Page 11. A psalm from the Tanakh, Psalm number 95, literally, come on, let's all sing together. Lechun ranena, lechun ranena, lechun ranena, ladonai. Lechun ranena, lechun ranena, lechun ranena, ladonai. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, nekadma fana bitoda. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, bizmiro naria lo. Lechun ranena, lechun ranena, lechun ranena, ladonai. Lechun ranena, lechun ranena, lechun ranena, ladonai. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, nekadma fana bitoda. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, bizmiro naria lo. Lechun ranena, lechun ranena, lechun ranena, ladonai. Lechun ranena, Lechoneranena, lechoneranena ladonai. On the English side, let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God, raising our voice in song. Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. God's hands form the earth's deep. Mountain crests, too, are God's work. The sea is God's, for God made it. Dry land was fashioned by God's hands. Come then, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai who formed us. The conclusion, page 12. Arbaim shana kut v'dor v'omar toi levavhem v'hem lo yidud rachai asher nishbati v'api im yavon el menuchati. On page number 16. Worshippers of idols be shamed for praising false gods. All that is deemed supreme bow before God. Zion hears of it and rejoices. The cities of Judah exult as you, Adonai, pass judgment. You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine. Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful. Light is sown for the righteous, and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name. And turning to page number 20, we have Craig with Romamu. It's the last stanza on page number 20, Romamu.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu.
And on page 21, another psalm. For hundreds of years, we've been singing songs on Shabbat, and these are Tehillim songs, religious songs, poems set to dozens of different melodies. And this is a contemporary melody. It's on page 21. This comes to us from a group of GAP students. We had them join us years and years ago. It's Nativ. It's an older recording, but at the time that this recording was made, these were high school seniors who were taking a gap year, and they were in Israel. And while studying, they also formed a little choral group. It's Nativ. And the Tehillah, the psalm that they're singing, is on page 21. And two words stand out. First, the word kol, which means the voice of God. The word voice, kol, appears 7 times in this psalm, and perhaps one of the reasons that hundreds of years ago this psalm was brought to the Friday evening services, that the number 7 is of course significant, and also God's name in this psalm appears 18 times, and we know that the number 18 is significant, embodying the idea of life. So God's voice is ever present. Do we hear God's voice on any one of the 7 days of the week? And can we attune ourselves to hearing God's voice? And perhaps that will lead us into better understanding of life. Page 21.
Mizmor leDavid, Habu Adonai b'nei, Habu Adonai kavod ha'oz, Habu Adonai kevod shemo yishach, Habu Adonai behadrat kodesh, kol Adonai alamayim el hakavod nirim, Adonai almayim rabim, kol Adonai ba'koach, kol Adonai behadar, kol Adonai shober harazim, v'shaber Adonai et arzei Lebanon, vayar kidei kelo egel, Lebanon v'Sirion kemo b'nei, kol Adonai chotzev labotesh, kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, kol Adonai echol elayalot, vayechasov ye'arot uvechalot ulo amer kavod, Adonai lamahu yashav vayeshev Adonai melech elam, Adonai avliamo yitzir, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom, yanai nanai nanai, 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 yanai nanai nanai,
L'chadodi on page 23, the first 2 stanzas, page 25, the last 2 stanzas. Lecha dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad yishmeyanu el hamyuchad hadadai echad u'shemo echad l'shem ol tiferet v'litila. Lecha dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lekrat Shabbat lecho b'neilcha ki makor habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Page 25, Yamin. Yamino small tiferotzi viet Adonai taritzi al yarish ben partzi v'nismecha v'nagila lecha dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Boe v'shalom ateret balach gam b'simcha u'b'tzahala toch emunei am segula boe chala lecha dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. We are seated welcoming Shabbat. Shabbat has now been adorned by our song, and we turn to page 27, the Psalm for Shabbat. Shabbat's with us, and we're going to sing again to her. And now we have words and a melody from a synagogue from some years ago. It's synagogue in Atlanta, Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat, on page number 27.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר עבדיך, ואמונתך Shabbat, טוב להודות לאדוני, לזמר לשמך עליון, לזמר לשמך עליון, כי שימחתני אדוני בפועליך, במעשה ידיך מרנן. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age, they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming, Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw. Turning to the Mariv, the evening service, the first bracha aloud on page 39b on the English side, page 39b on the English side. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space. You completed your work of creation on the seventh day, calling this day from one evening to the next the holy Shabbat, and gave this day of rest in all its holiness to your people Israel, creator of day and night, ruling light before darkness and darkness from light, making day pass and bringing on the evening, distinguishing day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. El chai v'kayam, ta'amidim lo chalen olam voed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. On page 40, the top paragraph, but counting down to the fourth line, begins with the word therefore. And the theme is lie down and rise up, because of that theme expressed in the Shema itself. So this paragraph, the second bracha of the evening service, echoes the theme of day and night awareness, not only of time and the transition from day into night, but awareness that we are always in the presence of God. Therefore, God is always attuned to us. Therefore, Adonai, our God, as we lie down and as we rise up, we shall speak of your laws, rejoicing in the words of your Torah and in your mitzvot forever and ever. For they are our life and the fullness of our days, and on them we shall meditate day and night, to not ever withdraw your love from us. Baruch atah Adonai, who loves the people Israel. V'avotecha tasir mimenu l'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema's on page 41. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, B'chol levavcha, u'b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol me'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'v'lechtecha v'derech, u'v'shachbecha v'kumecha, u'kishartam la'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'v'sharecha. Moment of silence, page number 42. Adonai Elohechem emet. And in a moment, on page 44, the Michamocha, but first we have an opportunity to welcome Julian Cohen, and those who are joining in on YouTube see Julian before them in their own screens. We do not have the capacity to bring Julian into the sanctuary, but we do hear his voice. And as we said before, it's always a pleasure to welcome Julian, and in a way to have the Institute of Southern Jewish Life personified here in our synagogue. And we're grateful that Julian is here this evening and also tomorrow.
Page 45. Please join me. Shalom, ve'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim, ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha, ushmor tzedkenu uvoheinu. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha. Vehamidenu Shomrenu Lechayim. Baruch atah Adonai, Hapurei Sukkot Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Amen.
Amen. Shkoyach. V'shamru on page 46. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam ben yu ben b'nei Yisrael oti li'olam oti li'olam oti li'olam v'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam Vayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash v'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam barit olam. In a moment, we shall rise for the silent Amida, the traditional text, pages 47 through 52. A moment ago, Julian introduced the Michamocha and Hashkivenu, and for those of us in the sanctuary, we heard only a voice. We didn't see him. And for those on screen, people are seeing and hearing. And there's a little bit of a disconnect because we expect to see and to hear simultaneously when we're in prayer services. So maybe this is an object lesson for us as we rise for a few moments of silent meditation and prayer. Which senses do we favor? And when and how do we activate those senses when we're trying to get closer to God? So perhaps just temporarily closing our eyes or even our ears allows us to focus a bit more on what's going on inside ourselves. We rise, a few moments of silent prayer. And as I've said before, it's always a pleasure to welcome the Institute of Southern Jewish Life here into our community. We've been doing so for 20 years, and Julian has been with us last year and this year. It's been modified because of our COVID restrictions and our need to be safe, but Julian has joined in with us in audio-visual manners over the past 2 years, and we're pleased to welcome this Shabbat, both tonight and also tomorrow, Mr. Julian Cohen.
What is the best way to serve God? The Ahavas says, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. This week's portion, Chesed, is we are given a very different method. Service to God in this case is defined by the keep the larger goal in mind as we walk the path towards completing it. What we see in this parsha is the blending of action and intention. Each aspect of each garment has a purpose, which elevates the spirituality of the overall task of work in the Mishkan. One of these details is the inclusion of stones engraved with the names of the tribes of Israel. Rashi explains that they are there so that the Holy One, blessed be God, will see the names of the tribes written before God and will remember their righteousness. The combination of these two approaches opens a pathway for the Israelites to develop a relationship with God and for God to develop a relationship with the Israelites. The implementation of the logistical steps necessary to build the Mishkan establishes their spirituality and connection to God. Actions are our portal to spirituality. So let us take inspiration from Moses and lead with heart. And let us also look to Aaron for how to show our devotion through our actions. Only then can we do the work of serving God with our whole selves and building a community where God can dwell among us. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Julian. Where God can dwell amongst us. In a way, Julian anticipated where we are right now in the service. It's the Aleinu, and it's on page number 56, and the Aleinu speaks of us. Nu at the end of a Hebrew word means we or us or ours. Aleinu l'shabach means it's up to us to praise God, to be close to God, to journey towards God every single day. And most importantly, we rely on each other to support one another as we do so. We rise together on page 56, Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tet gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei aratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol amonam, v'anachnu korim,Amishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlochim hakadosh baruch hu shehu teshamayim v'yosei haaretz umoshav yekara b'shamayim mimal ushchinatu zo b'gavei meromim hu Eloheinu ein od emet malkeinu efes zulato k'katu b'torato v'yadata ayom v'ashebota el levavecha ki Adonai hu Elohim Bashamayim mimal v'al haaretz mitachot ein od. Kakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihya Adonai echad u'shemol echad. In a moment, the Mourner's Kaddish found on page number 58. Page number 58. As a community, we rise and we remember with great love those whom we've lost at this season of the year, remembering Sue C. Goldstein, Joseph Schwartz, Ann Witzer, Jesse Thomas, Rose Abrams Lubell, Elizabeth Cohen, Miriam Mitzenmacher, Helen Williams, Sarah Einstein, Dr. Norman Lichtenfeld, Bob Topper, Herbert M. Zuckerman, Morris Meyer, Morris Plotka, Solomon Sadowski, Kenneth Siegel, Marvin Zivitz, Ben Hershkovitz, Esther Robinson, Sam Perloff, Harry Duberman, Annie Reed Charnetsky, Joseph Feinstein, Eva Dunitz, Leah Berger, Sidney Letterman, Marilyn Lubell, remembering Paul Buckstein, Molly Gross. And perhaps those joining in at home have a name to share as well. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, amen. Be'olma divara chirute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'miru, amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach la'olam ololmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha b'richu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran ba'alma v'miru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim olenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imiru, amen. Hoseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imiru, amen. "90% of the Mourner's Kaddish, as you know, is Aramaic, and the last line, 10% you might say, Hoseh Shalom, is Hebrew. We've inherited this prayer from 1,800 years of tradition, from a community that first spoke only Aramaic and then added a little bit of Hebrew to give it, you might say, an extra Jewish feel. And that's been transmitted over the centuries across the lands, across many boundaries. We've inherited this prayer, and we've also, in effect, inherited the tradition to be heard and to have the names of our loved ones heard. And that gives us the power to console and to be consoled. May we continue to do so. A few reminders, of course, Julian will be here tomorrow, and for the young families, Julian will also be joining in for our religious school program on Sunday morning. Tomorrow evening, Havdalah, Alabama Community Virtual Havdalah is at 7 o'clock. That's Motzei Shabbos, as we call it, and then Monday is Tanakh study on Zoom, and Tuesday is the adult Hebrew class on Zoom, followed by Tuesday Spirit discussion on Zoom. The topic is, how do we open the gates of heaven? That's our Tuesday Spirit discussion. And we will conclude in just a moment, first with Kol Ha'olam Kulo, and those who have a Siddur are invited to turn to page number 82. Kol Ha'olam Kulo, the phrase literally is, the whole world is a very narrow bridge. The whole world is just a narrow bridge, but don't be afraid, because we're all together. That's Kol Ha'olam Kulo. And after Kol Ha'olam Kulo, then we'll be making Kiddush and Motzi. So those of you who are joining in at home, perhaps you have a glass of wine and a bit of bread, and you can join us for the Kiddush and the Motzi. But for now, in a moment, Kol Ha'olam Kulo.
Kol Ha'olam Kulo Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od. Kol Ha'olam Kulo Gesher Tsar Me'od, Gesher Tsar Me'od. V'ha'ikar, v'ha'ikar, lo lefached klal. V'ha'ikar, v'ha'ikar, lo כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד. כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד.
And now, if you're so inclined, we rise and we lift a glass of wine. You might be using grape juice at home. That's also, of course, within the Jewish tradition. Kiddush is found on page number 55. Some people might enjoy red or white. That's your preference. So my dad, Alav Shalom, liked red because it was his understanding that when Kiddush is first originating 2,000 years ago in ancient Israel, they probably used red grapes, and he liked using the original grape. So, but nowadays, of course, we have whites as well, or blushes for that matter. Page 55. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagofen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho b'avav v'ratzon inchilanu zikaron l'maseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol amim v'shabbat kodshecha b'yahava v'ratzon inchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mikadesh ha-Shabbat. I like to wash Netilat Yadayim before doing the Hamotzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvot havetzivan al Netilat Yadayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. To all those joining in at home, thank you for bringing us into your home. It means a great deal. To Julian, thanks for joining us. Connections between Jackson, Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama, and on out into the world. What a way to make Shabbat. It's certainly memorable. Litrod until we see each other. For now, Shabbat Shalom.